Alright, hi everyone. So today I'm going to be recording your video for HTML day 1, your lab activity video, in replacement of the lab you're not going to be having on Friday since it's a Good Friday, which is a holiday. But yeah, this is a video for your basic website design, and let's get started. Alright, so here's the things due. You have your HTML advanced simulation due next week, the day before lab on Thursday, 24th. Before 11:55 p.m. and it's going to be due in Lima Digital Dropbox. Assuming that I also upload this video on Wednesday, or I am going to upload it on Wednesday. And if you're watching this on Wednesday, just note that your basic simulation is due on the 17th, so this Thursday. Please make sure you complete this before you're completing whatever this video is going to talk about, okay? The next thing is going to be your week 13 lecture quiz, which is going to be due next week, Monday. Again, text and quizzes, and also the password is going to be lecture. All right. Further, more things due. So you have your website checklist that's going to be due via digital Dropbox. It's going to be due on the 2nd of May before 11:55 p.m. Again, this is going to be your last checklist assignment. I think it's might be worth even more than 55 points, but from what I'm aware so far, it is 55, possibly worth more points. So again, this is a significant chunk of your grade. It is worth a lot of points, and I'm not sure about the late submissions right now, but just please try to submit this on time. You don't want the 10% or even the 20% deduction. It's not worth it. Alright, so what is HTML? I mean, I can't really ask you guys, but just kind of mentally ask a rhetorical question of how much of you guys have ever designed a website. Maybe you guys have used Wix, but HTML is a little bit different. So Wix kind of just does it for you. HTML, you're kind of coding the entire page yourself. So we're basically using HTML5, and basically what that is a basic language used to create web pages. So it's the web page is going to be created by using simple text editors, which is what we're going to be using is Visual Studio Code, so make sure you have it downloaded. The extension name we're going to be working with extensively is HTML, and it's generally made of markup tags, which Dr. Gao should have spoken about in lecture. Alright, so here's some very basic idea of what makes up HTML. So HTML is full of different tags. So tags are instructions that tell the web browser how to display a web page. So they frequently come in pairs. So you have the opening tag, which is opening caret, and an ending caret. Okay, that's usually how you refer to it. Sometimes I refer to it as an ankle bracket. Either way, that should kind of what is it called? That should convey to you that's what I'm referring to. And then for the closing or the ending tag, you have kind of the similar format to the opening or starting tag. However, you have the backslash, which closes the entire tag. So usually how this works is you have the beginning tag and then the ending tag, and whatever you put within the beginning and the ending tag is what those instructions are going to apply to. So, also to note, some tags do not have closing tags. So for example, break, BR, does not have a closing tag. You just have to put BR and it will recognize it as a break. Okay, so moving on, like what I just said, generally whatever you have in between the opening and the closing tag will be affected by the tag. So a very clear example would be if you put a word like look here in between a beginning and an ending strong tag, strong, it's going to bold something. So the words look here, which is in between those tags, would be bolded. Okay? So tags and attributes. So tags and attributes are additional properties of a tag. It basically allows you to provide more information to a tag to customize it further. So the usual structure is you enclose it through quotation marks, usually in double quotes. However, to note, not all tags have attributes. So one example would be for example, horizontal line in HR, you could put HR, but instead of just putting HR, you put HR space width equals to double quote, and then within that double quote, you put the exact property, which is going to be 4. So now it's going to change the width. Let's say you put 1, then the width, the length, I mean, not the length, but the thickness of this horizontal line would be thinner, okay? And then if you, let's say 10, it will be a way chunkier line. All right. The next thing I'm going to mention is a site folder, which is a very important concept for you to ensure you understand. So a site folder will contain all of your files and your folders that's associated with the site that you're working on. So whatever you're creating, you want to use must be in this same folder. And also you definitely need a file called index.html. That's going to be your homepage, which we'll be working on in a moment. And when you're uploading a website in Unix, make sure all the files are visible or you have broken links, missing pages, and missing images, etc. Okay, so let's kind of open up the, let's open up, you should be able to go into Lalima, go into announcements, and download the HTML Day 1 activity SP5 zip. I already have that downloaded, so I'll open that up right now. Alright, so after I've opened that up, I will extract this, make sure this is unzipped. Now it has been extracted. I know it's already extracted. I'm going to open a Visual Studio Code. So let's open up Visual Studio Code. Okay. And when you guys open this up, you guys might have like a pop-up asking for permissions. Just say yes, whatever, whatever. But I'm at this point now, I'm going to go to File, Open Folder, or you can click Open Folder here as well. But I'm going to do the long way. And I'm going to find the file that I downloaded. So after I've downloaded this, you can see these are all the, like what I mentioned previously, right? Like what, come on. Like what I mentioned previously, right? Everything that I want within the site. So for example, if I want, oh my gosh, it's not dragging. Let's say if I want all these images on my site, they need to be in this specific folder. Everything I'm putting, it has to be in this folder. I can't expect, let's say I have an image of my cat somewhere on my desktop. I can't expect to reference it and it to be saved, okay? It has to be in this folder, all right? Because when you're uploading, you're only uploading one singular folder. It has to be all within that folder that you're uploading, okay? It's not a cloud. Okay, it's gonna be separate. Alright? Alright, so, moving on. It's just, my mouse is giving me difficulties. Okay, so once I'm back in Visual Studio Code, you can see I've opened up my folder. I'm gonna go to File, New File, and I will type in a file name. So I'm gonna type in index.html. Again, like what I said, all you need to begin with the homepage name index.html. Again, that's going to be your homepage. Once that's been saved, I'm going to make sure I save that in this folder I'm working in. Yeah. Okay. It's named the wrong thing, but it's fine. Okay, I'll have to change that later. Anyways, so once you're in a file named index.html, you're going to go on your keyboard, you're going to type in exclamation mark and tab. And this is a very quick and easy shortcut to help you jump right into it. So instead of having to type in, if you guys did the simulation, you guys had to type in this doc, HTML, all this stuff, you don't need to do that. Basically, the shortcut creates an overall skeleton structure, very, very basic skeleton structure of HTML. So you can see in line 1 and line 11, you have your overarching HTML tag that indicates to Visual Studio Code that, or to any web pages, whatever, that this is the HTML and whatever you're working in is in HTML code. All right. Line 2 is talking about the language. So you're setting the HTML language to English, very basic. And then line 3 to line 7 is the head. So the head is where your title would be. So let's kind of talk about that a little bit further. So again, the structure of the website is that you have the HTML overall encompassing. You see that it's like an onion. Okay, the first outer layer will be the HTML onion. All right, the next layer is gonna be the head. All right, the head doesn't wrap around everything. The head is just kind of floating above the body. Okay, so you have the head, which you'll put the title in, and then you have your body, which kind of encompasses your container, which your container encompasses everything else. Okay, so again, everything inside of purple, you have the title of your web page and then the link to your CSS. So what we're going to do next Also these are just the basic tags. You don't even need these. If you want, you can delete them and they will not affect your page at all, but sometimes you want to set it so there's no issues with HTML, but typically that's not fully necessary. It's just a way that HTML takes to structure things, okay? So anyways, back to it. First, we're gonna go into line 6 and we're gonna change the title to Sugar. So we're basically gonna be making a web page for a bakery for my cat Suga. Alright? Also, the next thing, another thing I want to mention, words might be all red, and it'll be really difficult for you to find out what an error is if mine's look differently than yours. Alright? So a way to do that, to make sure yours look like mine's, if you want to do this, in settings, and then you can go into your themes, and then color theme, and then you can choose dark modern, okay? Up to you, but I like the basic dark modern. That's the one I've been using for quite a while. Also, another thing I want to mention is it would be really good if you go to file and choose autosave. Autosave is a really good option. If you have if your, I don't know, code freezes or crashes, you don't have to worry about saving it and whatever. Just make sure it's on autosave. I really heavily recommend putting it on that. If you want to keep manually clicking Control S, Control Save, basically, that's up to you. Alright, moving on. So the next thing, like what I mentioned, is between your head tags, so this line 3 to line 8, you have to have your title, which is the document title, which we have already typed in Sugar. And the next line we're going to type in is the link to our CSS, which will make our CSS in a bit. But CSS is a cascading style sheet, and what that is basically lets you kind of make your pages pretty. Alright, which I'll talk about a little bit more on day 2, so don't worry about it right now. But we're just going to type this link in and worry about it later. Alright, so we're going to type in link, href, which means link reference, and then we're going to type in swag.css. Again, right now there's no link that's going to bring up to that, so let's say if I hover, control, and I click on that, that's going to bring me to nothing, okay? Because that doesn't exist right now. And then these are just formatting things you have to type in. You have to type in rel equals to quote style sheet. Like, also make sure when you're typing things in, they're inside the quotation itself. And then next, again, setting thing, make sure you type this in. Sometimes it causes issues, is text/CSS. And then the last thing you have to make sure you have is the ending tag. So like, let's say right now I don't put the ending tag, the little ending bracket I meant, then you can see my head has a little error, and then when I hover over it, it says that there is, you know, there's an error in my code, okay? So now it's working. Alright? So we're gonna go quickly just right in, is there any way I can do this? Okay, I can do that. Alright, so I'm gonna open up my file explorer real quick, and I'm just gonna quickly open up my index.html. So you can see right now my index.html is blank. There's nothing inside because obviously we have put nothing inside. The only thing we typed in is the title, which you can see on the top left corner. You can see the tab, and the tab is named Sugar. So that's working perfectly fine. Alright, so now we're gonna work on the rest of the things. Alright, so let's see. So the next thing, like what I mentioned, is a container which wraps around the site and provides a greater control of the website style. So it's again, the way you can think about the container and the content is the container and content are like boxes. The container is going to wrap around the entire site, and the content is only going to be wrapped around the content. It's kind of self-explanatory, alright, with the name itself. But one thing I want to note is when you are doing the div ID equals container, you have to put ending div tag. You can see right here with the black text. And then when you have the div ID content, you have the div ID ending tag, alright? And this part, for example, is the content div, and this part is the container div, okay? Again, these are just ways for you to kind of name chunks of the content. So I'm gonna give one more example. Let's say you had a cardboard box, and you would like to do something with that cardboard box. You would label that box a specific name, and then you can tell the CSS, which we'll work on later, hey, I want everything in that specific cardboard box to be pink. and it will know, instead of you telling I want this word in the cardboard, like for example I have a hat in the cardboard box, I don't have to name every single item in the cardboard box to be pink. I could just say I want everything in this cardboard box to be pink. I really hope that kind of makes sense, but you'll kind of see what I mean once we're working on it, and especially when we're making the CSS itself, you kind of understand. But right now it's okay if you don't fully understand. Alright, so like what I just mentioned, we should type in the div ID for the container first. So div ID equals to container. Oh my gosh. Did I spell it wrong? Yeah, container, any tag, and you can see when I end the tag, it automatically creates an ending div tag for me. The next thing I'm going to type in is a header. So that's one thing you're required to have is a header. Again, to emphasize, header and head is two different things. Your head, again, contains your title and your CSS link. Your header contains your, like, the words within the website itself. So again, when I say title for the head, it's the little tab, your tab title. When I say title for the header, it's kind of what the words you want to display on your page, on the page itself. Okay, we'll see it right now. All right, so we're gonna type in something. You don't need to know this specifically, but I really like this skill, this ability to do this. It's called, you type in the and sign, NBSP semicolon. This basically means non-breakable space, or non-breaking space. Basically what that means is it allows, you're just basically telling the page you want this space to be there no matter what. Sometimes when you put a break, like a BR tag, it wouldn't work, or it'll only do it once because there's not enough text around it. Non-breakable space just kind of forces that space to be there no matter what. Alright, the next thing we're typing is H1. H1 means header 1, okay? Or heading 1, sorry. So heading 1, we're gonna type in Shukas or swag sugars. Alright, and then in the next line, in line 14, we're going to type in H4, so heading 4 now. These are going to be smaller text, and we're going to type in Chef Shugas Swaggies Sugary Goods. Alright, the next thing we're going to type in is something very important that you guys need to know for your checklist, and it's going to be the nav tag. You're going to type in NAV, and then end that ending bracket, and then bring the tags down. So you should be in line 16 now, and you type in UL. So I'm going to just show you guys the overall structure. So basically nav means navigation bars. So let's say if I go on Amazon, alright, if I go on Amazon, this top part with all of these things, these are your navigation bars. So this allows you to navigate around. So you see these buttons, you can click on them, and they can bring you to different places of the site, and that's what a navigation bar is. Okay, very easy. And again, if you look at, once you kind of understand HTML, it's very interesting to see how a site is laid out. Again, see, that's your navigation bar. Alright, so we're typing nav UL, which means unordered list, and then you're going to type in LI, which means list. So UL basically tells it that it's not an ordered list, it's just a list, and then you can type in list further. Alright, so in line 17, you're going to type in LI, which is going to be list, and you can type in A space HERF. So like kind of what we did earlier with the CSS, we're not going to be putting the links for the rest of the pages. So the first link we're going to do is we're going to do the self link, the link kind of back to index.html, the one we're working on right now. This just brings us back. We don't really need this per se, but it's good to just have, okay? And then after that tag, we're going to type in div ID. Yeah, we're going to type in div ID equals to quote home. And then end that. I did something. Oh, see. And quotation, and now there's no more mistakes. And then the last thing I'm going to type in is /div. Oh wait, it's already made for me. And then between the ending div tag and the ending a tag, I'm going to type in home. So I'm going to explain a little bit of what I just did here. So again, this is a list of one of the bullet points or one of the navigations that you could go to. Alright, this A equals to href basically means index.html. So it basically means that this link, whatever we're linking to, is going to link to index.html, which is back to here. And then you have your div ID, which is home, and it's going to show up as the word home. So I'll show you guys a little bit of what it looks like. So let's refresh our page. Again, you can see the non-breakable space that I typed in earlier. You can see the heading 1 and then the heading 4, and then now you can see the first navigation. So you have the home. Again, it's showing up as the word home. Let's say if I change that word to something else, like home without the E for some reason, okay? Now you can see it's changing. So that is what those words mean. It's basically the display of what you want the text to be. And then if you click on it, let's refresh one more time. If you click on it, again, it will bring back. So nothing's happening. You don't see anything right now, but it will bring back directly to where you're trying to go to. So it's going to go to HTML, index.html, which is back to where it is. All right, we're going to go to the next line, and we're going to create it 3 more times. On your checklist, you have to do this 5 times in total. Okay, we're gonna do this 3 times just for the lab activity. So we're gonna change the words from index to goodies, and then the next one to index to reviews. And then for the div ID part, we're gonna change that to goodies. Oh, let's not cap this. Goodies. And then the next one to goodies as well. Alright, the next one to reviews. I keep capitalizing it. It's okay if you capitalize it. I just don't like to capitalize it. Just because, I don't know why. Don't ask me. Okay, and then this one to reviews. Okay, I want the display text to be capitalized. Alright, so now we're going to refresh one more time, and now you can see these links have popped up. So let's say if I click on goodies right now, nothing would be popped up because we don't have a goodies.html created. Same thing goes for reviews. Okay. So we'll create that in a moment, but we'll continue working on our first index page because we should do that first. Okay, so after our ending navigation part, so we created our navigation, although right now it's not fully functional because we don't have the other pages, but it's technically working. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to add a quick line. You're not going to see this right now because there's nothing to see right now, but we're going to type size. So this is going to be a horizontal line. We're going to type in size 4. Width, it's going to be auto. And then color is going to be white. So because, again, our web page right now is white, you're not going to see anything. But it's there. Trust me, it's there. Okay? We're not going to go back and check because, again, it's not going to show up. Alright? So again, right now we're ensuring that we're in our div ID container, and we're outside our header now, so we don't want to be in our header anymore. And now we're going to type in div ID equals to content. So within the content, this is where we're going to be putting what we want to pertain to this specific page. So kind of your header would be the same throughout all of your other pages. So your goodies, your reviews, they should all have the same header. This is kind of like how all of your other pages would be like too. Your header should, when you're working your checklist, your header should be pretty much the same, but your content will be what's differing. And that's kind of why it's helpful to kind of divide up this information using the div IDs. Okay, so within the content, I'm gonna type in h2. And I'm going to type in home. So again, this indicates that we're in the home page right now. The next thing I'm going to type in is I'm going to type in an image source. So I'm going to type in img source equals you quote. And in this quote, I want to link it to an image. Alright. So again, image source. And I'm going to type in sugar. And I have sugar1.jpg. I'm just going to click on that and end my bracket. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to type in a BR. Again, that's a break. And I'm going to type in a quick caption. So you guys have to do this quite a few times for your checklist to have images in your checklist and then also have captions for them. You can directly type underneath an item, but caption is usually recommended, okay? Using caption tag. So I'm gonna type in recent images of our world famous chef, Sugar. Alright, so let's go and check how it looks like right now real quick, okay? So let's go to that fresh, and you can see now we have a picture of Sugar and the caption as well. Alright, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna quickly add a paragraph text underneath that. So after the caption, we're gonna type in a paragraph. So we're gonna type in P, so again that indicates is a paragraph, and we're gonna quickly go into our paragraph.txt and we're gonna Control All, copy, and Control V. Okay, Control V here. I kind of formatted so it's easy for you guys to navigate this, but we're gonna just quickly add a BR tag, a break tag in between all of these little sections. All right, so I did not mean to do that. I don't even know what a BRZ is. That's a car. Okay, so after you kind of added the BR between these 3 paragraphs, if you guys go into our little thing, you can see that now it has been broken up into different sections. If you guys didn't have the BR, let's just say we didn't type in the BR real quick. Okay, if I refresh, it's kind of grouped all into a giant paragraph, but if I had the BR tag, then you can see that it's there, okay? Alright, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna exit out of this paragraph. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Also, oh, where's my top? Okay, it's not there anymore. Where's my... Oh, okay, okay. Okay, where's my top corner? I don't have my top corner anymore. Okay, whatever. So after the ending paragraph tag, we're gonna type in H3. And we're gonna type in, come see us. Exclamation mark, okay? And then after the come see us, heading 3, we're gonna type in another unordered list. Oh, it's back. How did I bring that back? I don't even know how I brought that back. Okay, what I was gonna mention earlier was you can check, you can click on view and change where, was it edit? I think it's view. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, why did it go away? Okay. Alright. Anyways, it's back. Okay, so, one thing I want to mention is you can go into view and click on word wrap, and it will help everything wrap, so you don't have to scroll to the left and to the right over and over again, and it will just do it for you. It's up to you how you want to format this. I don't want that there. Okay, so anyways, now back to our line 37. We're gonna type in the first UL, so unordered list, and then we're gonna type in our first listed item, which is gonna be location, and we're just gonna type in 2500 Campus Road. So that's just the campus address, okay? Road, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96822. And in the next list, it's gonna be the hours, Monday through Sunday, from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. for bakery hours, okay? Alright, so now let's check our page real quick. Let's refresh. You can see we have the little introduction of what the bakery is, our little image, the navigation bar, the little come see us footer tag, or the footer. Is that the footer? I don't think that's the footer yet. Okay, not the footer yet, but yeah. Okay, after that we'll make the footer. So underneath the ending UL tag, we're gonna quickly add a BR, a break, and then we're gonna go outside. So in between the content div and the container div, we're gonna create an extra line, and in that line we're gonna add the footer. So again, the footer and the header is in the container, but not the content, okay? Keep that in mind. Again, the header and the footer is outside of content. So your header and your footer should kind of be the same for all your pages when you're working on your checklist as well. Alright, and so within your footer, we're going to type in, whoa, why did it look like that? Okay, that's better. Within your footer, you're going to type in copyright. So this is just something that you guys can put on your websites when you guys are making your website. So, you know, no copyright. And you're going to put copyright and sign copy. And this creates a little label. So this little thing, the and sign copy semicolon creates a little copyright logo, or that little copy, right? You'll see in a second. And then Sugar's Sugar Bakery. Alright. The next thing we're going to type in is we're going to type in we'll just type in a quick link, okay? So this is something that it's kind of just for your information. We don't need this here, but this is just like an example showing you guys. So you can type in href, and you're gonna type in equals quote, and I'm gonna go into my references.th whatever, and I'm gonna copy this first link, okay? The cookie GIF in line 2. We're gonna go into our references again, line 2. We're gonna copy that link. We're gonna paste it in this quotation, okay? And then after we put that into the quotation, we're gonna type in target equals to quote underscore blank. Again, we'll be doing this right now, and then I'll kind of explain what I'm doing. All right, blank. All right, and then we're gonna close this up, and then between the beginning and the ending A tag, we're gonna type in the words we want to display. So we're gonna type in background source link, and that parentheses, and then we are all good for now. All right, so if you go into this page, we refresh now, we'll have look little copyright, the copyright symbol, and then Sugar Bakery, and then the background source link. So what this does is you are linking, you're giving a link to where you want them to go to. The background source link allows you to click on something, okay? So something to explain, a concept to explain, is when you put links in your HTML, like here, for example, your href, HTML defaults to bring it back to its own page. So for example, when I click on home, it will bring me back to this page. It doesn't open up a new tab. However, when you put the target equals to underscore blank, it will open up a brand new page. So you can see now it has opened up a brand new tab. And that's one of the requirements on your checklist, is when you click on this link, it will bring you to a brand new tab. Okay, so keep that in mind. Alright, if you have any questions, reach out to me. Alright, hopefully that makes sense. The next thing we're going to do is a little bit extra, but it's something fun to learn. So we're going to, in line 46, we're going to type in audio, controls, autoplay, source equals to BTS. Oh wait, sorry, you don't have to type that part out. Source equals to, and then we're just gonna quickly go into our reference.txt, and we're gonna copy line 23, the link. Actually, we don't even have to copy that. If you type in B, it should start. Okay, wait, I'm trying to big brain this right now. B, there. You can click on that, or you can paste it in. Okay, now if you go to references and you copy that and paste it, it will work just the same. All right, either way, whatever works. All right, we're gonna close that up, and now we're pretty much done with our first page. So you might think, wow, this is kind of ugly. And no worries, it will be fixed in a very short moment. Okay, so let's go into our slides and kind of talk about everything, and then we'll kind of work on everything else. Okay, so again, some tags we went over today. This is just for your references. And then again, the general website design, I'm not going to go over that. I should have just referenced it to that. Okay. All right. So what is CSS? So what I mentioned earlier, CSS is a cascading style sheet. So it creates styles sheets that says default for elements of the page. So you have to link it to your website. That is why we put it in our head of the structure, the skeleton of the website. And so it's made out of 3 elements. It's the selector tag you want to create for the rule, the property, the attributes you want to change, and the value. So how this usually looks like is you type in what you want, the tag name, and then a curly bracket, and then the property and value, and then the ending curly bracket. Alright, so let's do that right now. So there's 2 ways you can do this, alright? You could either go to File, New File, like what we did earlier, and type in swag.css, or you can hold Control on your keyboard, click on this, and it will pop up this error, click Create File, and it will create a blank .css for you. Either way, whatever works for you. Alright, also you can click on this little add and create a new file there and type in the name there. Okay, there's a lot of options you have. Alright, so what we're gonna do first is we are going to type in the very first rule we'd like, which is the body tag. So we're going to type in body, open curly bracket, and we're going to type in font, family. Maybe I'll just do like a basic one. That one? Guys, I don't know which one I like. Okay, sure, we'll do that one. That one's much better, okay? We'll do that after whatever rules you type in for the font family. You can choose whatever font you like, okay? I'm not going to get upset. Alright, you're gonna type in a semicolon. You're gonna go to the next line. Again, every single line within your property needs to be so within this little area, every single time you put a new property in, you have to put a semicolon. Alright, so next thing you're gonna type in is you're gonna type in font size. We're gonna type in medium. I don't know if that's gonna change much, but we're just gonna type in medium, and then we're gonna type in background image. And then we're going to put URL and open parentheses. And within the parentheses, we're going to type in, quote, swag. And when you type in S, it should start giving you options. We're going to type in swag cookie gif.gif, semicolon. And then we're going to type in, well, you don't need to do this because I don't think it would show up. So I guess we won't even do that part. But if you now go into your page and you refresh, now the whole page is filled with cookies. And that's the GIF, okay? So again, we changed the font, we changed the size a little bit, and now we have added the little cookie GIF, alright? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to type in hashtag container. So, wait, let's type that in real quick. Where is my hashtag on my keyboard? Okay, hashtag container, open curly bracket, enter. And then we're going to type in background color, colon, open parentheses, RGBA, open parentheses, and then we're going to type in 243, 237, 237, 0.925. Alright, so let me explain what this is real quick. So again, when we typed in the body, that was a tag. Again, if you guys remember when we worked on when we type in body, that was just a regular tag. So that is how you refer to it. However, when you're referring to a div ID, like for example a div ID, and you named it a container, whatever div ID container name is, you put a hashtag and you put the name of that div ID, which is container. Alright, moving on. So again, we put the GIF for the whole body. So everything from line 9 all the way to line 47 is going to have that GIF applied to it, and everything that we put applied to it, okay? So that's why pretty much everything on your site would be applied. However, the changes we're about to make with the container tag is only going to be affected with the containers. So again, from here all the way to the container. Okay, so let's refresh real quick. So you can see now we have everything that's inside the container has been applied with this little transparent placeholder, okay? Not placeholder, but you know what I'm talking about, alright? And that kind of helps things to be a little bit more visually comprehensible, alright? So the next thing we type in is text align center. I heavily recommend this. It aligns your text and doesn't make it look weird. Width is 960px. That is required on your checklist, and your margin needs to be auto. Alright, that's also, I think that might be required. Alright, now if you refresh, that looks like insanely different and so much better. I mean, if you disagree, whatever, but that, just those little changes made a whole lot of a difference, okay? So the next thing we're going to type in, we're going to make some differences with the nav bar. So we're going to type in nav, li, open curly bracket, and we're going to type in display inline block. Okay, what this is going to do is it's basically going to make it right next to each other. So now you can see that all the navigation tags are right next to each other. So there's no longer those little ugly, not ugly, but those bullet points, okay? Next thing we type in is nav ul, open parentheses, and we're going to type in padding equals to 0px. This is kind of up to your preference. I put 0px because I want everything to be flush next to each other once we're editing it in the future. Right now, they're not going to make much of a difference. They're just going to actually make it look worse. But again, once we make the changes on day 2, you will kind of see the vision, okay? So we're going to do text and line center. Now if we go back to our page, we refresh, again, they're now in the center, the navigation bar, and they're kind of close to each other, alright? But eventually, this is a good thing, okay? So, but you can always adjust this value, the padding. The padding basically just again means the spaces in between each navigation button. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to type in content, hashtag content. I don't really put much for content, I just put padding equals to, whatever, 20px, alright? Oh, sorry, before the content, we're going to type in OL. I don't even know if, actually, let's not type that and see how that goes, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to type in the header. So again, we don't need the hashtags for this one because it's a tag. We're going to type in background, image, quotations, URL, open parentheses, quote, banner.jpg. That is the wrong one. Alright. And then semicolon, and then color, colon, black. So what this is doing is it's basically saying you want the words, you want the header background image to be this banner.jpg, and you want the color of the words in the banner to be black. So right now, if I refresh, the words will be black, okay? It was already black, but that's just basically a way you can change the color of the words, which I'll show you guys in just a moment. So now, if I go into my footer, if I type in footer, open curly bracket, I type in background color, and then I type in RGBA, open parentheses, 145, 56, 247, 0.6, semicolon, and I type in color, colon, white, semicolon. What this is now doing is, if you guys see right now, our footer has nothing, okay? So if I refresh now, my footer words are going to be in white, and it has this little purple coloring to it. I think why is the, supposed to type in BR? I think I'm going to type in BR here. I'm going to type in a BR just because I don't like the fact that the music bar is right there. Okay, see? So I fixed it. So now the music bar is right underneath it. Alright, perfect. So now you can see our home page is like perfectly done. And we, however, don't have a goodies page or a reviews page. So let's create the skeleton for that, and we'll just leave off on that for day 2. Alright, so we're gonna go, and again, you have various options of creating a new page. You can either go Control on your keyboard and click and then create a file, or you can create a new file and type in the name of the site. It's really good if you control and click on that, just because it ensures that it's linked, okay? I like doing it this way. Alright, I'm gonna click on that, create a file. So now I have goodies.html and a reviews.html. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna Control-Alt, copy everything on index.html. I'm gonna go into my goodies.html page, and I'm gonna just paste this in. I'm gonna do the goodies page first. So I'm gonna paste this in, and I'm gonna delete everything in my contents page. within my content. So from line 25 all the way to line 41, I'm going to delete everything. Well, actually, 26. I'm going to delete everything from line 26 all the way to line 41. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to change this word to goodies. Alright? I'm going to now Control-Alt copy this, paste this in my reviews, and just, since I already deleted everything in the content, all I have to do is just change the word to reviews. And now, if I go into my page and I refresh, I go into my goodies, and now there is something here, right? The last thing we'll do, which we'll do this on day 2, is we'll make sure that our site is public. So if you guys remember, on our Unix unit, we did the chmod setting permissions thingy in FileZilla and in command prompt or terminal for Mac users. So that's what we'll be doing on day 2. And then these are the instructions for uploading, which you do not have to do right now. Alright? So the final instruction is now you have to screenshot your index.html page, and then you apply to my email that I'll send out today, okay? So basically you go to here, and depending on what device you have, you will control. So on my page, I think, what was it? Windows key, Shift S. Yeah, and I'll screenshot my page. Once I've screenshotted it, I'll reply just that image screenshotted to my email, and that's all for the lab activity. These are the instructions for the Mac.